Beyonce scolded her daughter, almost whooped her daughter. I'm kidding. But Beyonce was not playing, child. Beyonce went to the Boys Mind tour in support of Kelly Rowland being a guest on the tour with Brandy and Monica, right? And I cannot believe Jay-Z as a black dad, like, he was so shocked, almost scared as if he was the one who was getting the scolding. Now, Rumi was basically, allegedly misbehaving. And Beyonce was like, go to the car. Oh my God. You know, when your mom says go to the car, it's gonna be down. So Rumi, being a little toddler, they're in a talk backstage. They're going to talk back. And, she's a little baby and, she's going to throw tantrums because that's how toddlers are. She's a little baby, right? And after Beyonce said, go to the car, Rumi was still talking back. I was like, And that was filmed and everything, right? And I do understand that Beyonce is a brand and she want to protect her reputation. But at the end of the day, why not leave the kids at home? Why not leave the kids at home? And we know Rumi. Rumi's a little diva. She does what she wants. We saw her on the tour. She's a happy baby, and she's very fierce. She's given Solange, honey. After that elevator fight with Solange and Jay-Z, we knew, honey, Solange is not the one. And I think Rumi has a little Auntie Solange inside of her. But it was really funny yet surprising to see Beyonce tapping into her strict mommy mode. And Miss Tina Knowles, I think, allegedly once said it on a interview that Beyonce is actually strict. She does not play. She does not play. And which leads me to think, I think she's just like the only breadwinner in that family. I think Beyonce is the only breadwinner. I think, yeah, Jay-Z has his money, but he's probably not rich as people would want to believe. Like, probably Jay-Z is being funded by Beyonce. I think Beyonce's funding Jay-Z. It might sound really crazy, weird to y'all, but I do believe Beyonce is the number one breadwinner in that family. Okay, I said what I said. And Rock Nation, I think, is funded by the tours that Beyonce consistently does. The back-to-back tours, you realize there's a pattern like Renaissance, Cowboy Carter, and On the Road tour. Like, there's back-to-back tours. And I think those tours, the revenue is being pumped into Rock Nation to save the company. At the end of the day, people would say to me like, hey, Beyonce's fake. She's fake. You only going to see Beyonce when she wants to make some money, when she has something to sell to her fans, only when she wants to like make a huge chunk of money. That's when you see Beyonce. That's the only time you see Beyonce. And she likes to take everything for herself, like the one too many Super Bowl performances. Like it's recently when people are now given their own opportunities to perform at the Super Bowl. Cause there was a time when Beyonce was always performing. But guys, let's chime in on the situation also regarding, Nicki Minaj and Jay-Z situation, because there's a lot of dispute going on between Jay-Z and Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is now saying that, Jay-Z's basically behind a lot of giants sabotaging her career. And I'm wondering, like, why would Nicki think Jay-Z sabotaging her career? Not that I'm against Nicki and her feelings and what she has to say, because, I'm not going to go into a lot of things, but she knows what she knows. And the reason why she's burning her hand, as what 6ix9ine says, on a stove, is because she wants to expose a lot of stuff. Now, what had hurt Nicki so bad that Nicki would want to expose Jay-Z, expose the Carters, and do a lot of stuff? Because for one, Nicki hinted that Jay-Z has a lot of malice intention towards her, only because he tried to sign her, Lil Wayne and Drake, and they all said no. And of course, those are like the big threes. They're very talented. Like, you're going to make a fortune off Nicki and Drake and Lil Wayne, especially Nicki because she's very marketable, and Drake because he sells a lot of records. Okay, so that malice grew there, and then boom, Nicki is always thriving and she's consistent. You know, she's like the top female rapper. The other female rappers, to me, they're not making way. They're not making as much money as Nicki. And of course, Jay-Z having to manage like a Cardi B or a Megan Thee Stallion, allegedly, you know, of course he does manage Megan Thee Stallion because she's under Roc Nation's management. Like, probably they're not making as much of a buck as Nicki would. So of course he sees that, oh, at this point, you know, forget Nicki because, you know, she could have been with Roc Nation and I could have been rich and I could have been making a lot of money. But instead, I'm like, you know, struggling. So I think that's Jay-Z's mindset. Like, he's struggling with money and finances because, of course, Roc Nations is like this big company. He sees the big vision for it. And these rappers that's under the management, they're not making as much money as Nicki. You know, people could always say, we're going to cancel Nicki. And Nicki's not canceled. She's not canceled. Like, she cannot be canceled, honey. She's very powerful. And I think when you have power and you're not sucking up, you're not going to be liked. You know, just like Kanye. Oh my God. People tried to cancel Kanye so many times. That man outright came out on social media and called Jay-Z and Beyonce's kids retarded, which is very rude, by the way, because you do not speak on people's kids. I still don't know why he did it, but of course, you know what I think? Do not speak on people's kids, period. But you know what I think? I think Jay-Z and Beyonce, they're provoking. I think they're low-key doing stuff to people and they still come out shiny and innocent. If you were to look at Beyonce, she's always fake smiling, always pretending. And I do believe it's pretending, honey, because I don't think you naturally come out in the atmosphere and just always have a smile. Like, honey, you don't even do interviews. You look very awkward and very annoyed. And that's how I know you coming out in the public to smile all the time. It's a facade. Like, honey, you're pretending. Them type of peoples you need to be careful of because they pretend a lot. Whereas if they don't like you, honey, they'll not say to your face, but they'll do stuff behind your back to sabotage you. And I think that's the type of person Beyonce is. And I think she's led on by Jay-Z. But Nicki being invited to the United Nations to speak out against like the Nigerians being armed because, you know, they want to practice or worship their God because they're Christians. I think that was very noble of Nicki to defend them, to speak out against, you know, them being hurt. Like, it was very noble. It was very noble. It was very nice of Nicki to do so. And I love Nicki for doing that. But instead, Nicki's being dragged to say, oh, she just wanted to get back to Jay-Z only because Jay-Z and Beyonce supported Kamala Harris. And Nicki Minaj was saying, oh, she want to thank Donald Trump. Obviously, Nicki did not do this as a good favor, but it was an opportunity to get back at Beyonce and Jay-Z, blah, 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 blah. Guys, be for real. Be for real. Nicki has been talking about Nigerians and Christianity for years. She fully supports them, and I think it's very beautiful. Period. I think Nicki is a very beautiful person. Period. And she cannot be canceled. Period. But it was very funny to see Beyonce tapping into her mommy mode. I hope, little Rumi didn't got any beaten. Okay. Cause I know my mom would have whooped me, but let me know what y'all think down below in the comment section, guys. Leave a like for this video. Share if you care. Click on this notification bell. Okay. And thank you so much for sticking with us.